Great question. What happens if my perm application gets audited? So your attorney or company is going to receive a notice of an audit, and it will likely pertain to very specific topics that they want to discuss based on your answers in the ETA 9089, or based on their answers on that form. As far as how common are they? They actually are not very common. I'm actually trying to remember the last audit that I had, and I had filed like hundreds of perm applications in 2024, and like from 2020 through 2024, and I could hardly think of any audits that I personally had during that time. Now, in some of the larger big tech companies, those obviously happen with higher regularity, but they have not been historically very common. Now, going forward, do I think that these are likely to increase? I certainly do. And there are definitely actions that can be taken to avoid triggering one. So I'm just going to give you a few. Number one, make sure that the job description is considered normal for the occupation. So for example, if you're being sponsored for a mechanical engineer position, your employer shouldn't write that you need to have a bachelor's degree and 15 years of experience to qualify that, because that would be considered outside of the specific vocational preparation level, right? The SVP level. And what I try to do is to make sure, unless there's a clear and documented reason why it needs to be outside of the norm, that it's the norm. That's what you list on the perm application. A couple other points. I would avoid listing any knowledge of a foreign language. I have a lot of clients who, during their discussion with their employer, say, oh, we should put here on this job that I need to be able to speak Hindi or Spanish because we have contractors that work in India or in Mexico who it would be easier to communicate with if we had this language. Unless you can show that there's a clear business necessity for this, I mean, this is going to trigger an audit, and then you will not likely pass this audit unless you can show this clear business necessity. So I would also avoid doing this. Basically, all of the things you can do to avoid triggering an audit should be done at the very beginning of your perm application during the building phase to make sure that everything is done as clear as possible to do your best to avoid this. Now, despite all your actions, you still may get audited, but you certainly, if you're the employer, can take action to reduce that risk.